So the whole HAPA thing came about because the magazine was called Hospitality Asia. And when I then created the awards, I said, okay, what sounds good like Oscar? So then I said, what
Cool.
named it after the magazine and then Platinum. So then it became Hospitality Asia Platinum Awards. That was how that came about. And then the brand just took off so well. Everybody resonated with the brand. Even my surname became Jennifer HAPA instead of Jennifer Ong. And
I thought your last name was Harper when I first met you.
let's see.
It's
Uh,
I think my name's Connect in the future.
yeah,
My last.
Kallum Connect.
The Connect Coaching Unplugged.
I'm really excited about this podcast today. Welcome to the Connect Unplugged Podcast number 6, the first one for 2024. I could not wait to get back into this year, and I know Conor was very excited as well, especially when we found out our very first guest was going to be Jennifer Ong, someone who is dear to my heart. We had a professional relationship to begin with, but then we've become good friends over the last couple of years. I've seen Jen soar to new heights in that time, and I'm really, really excited to have her on. I want to introduce Jennifer by saying she is the founder of HAPA Group, established in 1994. HAPA was created to produce quality hospitality and travel publications for industry owners and operators, corporate travelers in Asia. Over the course of Jennifer's 29-year journey in the business, which is just absolutely amazing, she expanded her portfolio and created 5 brands, namely Hospitality Asia, which is a media company, HAPA Awards, HAPA Events, and HAPA Academy Training, all of which have been rebranded to HAPA and No Address Society, a dining and networking club. Jennifer also started 2 digital TV channels in 2020, focusing on digital media content and talk shows under the brands of HAPA TV and Gen TV. And I'm reading this stuff out, and it keeps going on and on and on, because one thing you're going to learn about Jennifer today is she's one of those human beings that gets more done than humanly possible. And that is why I'm so excited to talk to her about some of the upcoming events that she's hosting this year. But one more important thing that you need to know about Jennifer, she also comes from an NLP background. She's a trainer of NLP. She's American board certified. And she's the very first person that I know of that's ever got across the line NLP practitioner trainings inside of universities. So welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Unplugged, your all access pass to trainers and coaches and amazing people from all around the world. Today, we've got Jennifer Ong. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Wow. Thanks for
Welcome.
action. Hi, Kallum. Hi, Conor.
It's so good to have you here. I was going to ask you what's new that you're doing, but it seems like there's new stuff coming out all of the time. Why don't we just start with what the biggest thing that you're up to this year, Jen? Because literally watching your life is like watching a movie stars. It seems like you're going from red carpet events to, amazing gala balls and everything in between. So let us know what you're up to this year. What is the biggest thing that you're on to in 2024, Jen?
Oh, okay. So I've got, like when you did the introduction of the HAPA Group and the Mind Academy. So both of them had a huge, huge goal. One of the biggest goals that I can imagine. So for the HAPA side is this year we are turning 30. So
Wow.
I've been in 30 years.
That's
And-
amazing.
And it's celebrating HAPA's 30 years in business and 30 years in the journey of excellence. So with that's a huge achievement that I was looking forward to since we were 25. So it was like 5 years, looking out, okay, not me, but when's my business turning 30?
Wow.
We're going to be doing one of the biggest events in November to celebrate the 30 years of excellence. And then for the Mind Academy, it's going out there, opening up my safety box and taking out that biggest dream that I've had, which is putting together a Power Women Summit. It's a live coaching summit, and the first live coaching summit here in Malaysia for women and young girls. So that's happening in June. So these are the two biggest events that I can ever imagine every time, think about summits, think about things I want to do. So this too is happening this year for me. So Kallum, it's
30 years. 30 years. I can't even imagine what that must feel like. And I can't wait to the time that we can say the same thing about Connect coaching. I want to really dig into the Power Women's Summit. But before we do, can you tell us a little bit more about the creation of HAPA and how it all came about and what it is for people that don't know what HAPA is and what its core purpose is? Can you rewind the clock for us, take us on a bit of a time traveling journey back to when you were 25, I think you said, and share what the inspiration was for that and what motivated you to dive into such a big venture?
okay. So I started the HAPA business in November 1994. So it was, I came back from Singapore. So I was in Singapore. I was working. I went to Singapore to join Singapore Airlines, and then I stayed on in Singapore. And then in 1994, I decided to come back to Malaysia. And at that time, my last job in Singapore was working with a publishing company in the hospitality and retail sector. So when I came back, I was 22, and I didn't know what job to do because I've never worked in Malaysia. So then I said, okay, let's start a business. So what do I know? I know nothing else other than publishing. So why don't I just start a publishing business? So that was, I started that with my late husband in end of 94. So we were a publishing firm for a couple of years until the year of 2002. I decided then to create my own awards for the industry because I saw there was a lack of recognition for the people. We call it the superheroes, the superheroes who are from the back of the house. And I spot the need for recognizing them and bringing them up, and recognizing excellence in these people. So in 2002, I started then the awards business. And then it went on to 2002, and then 2005, I started the events business. I started doing customized bespoke events for my clients. And then from there, I went into training because there was a need to uplift the standards of hospitality. So I think the whole business was kind of like an evolution that came along with it because I saw a need. There was a need and there was no solutions at that point, and I created the solution. So I think looking back the last 30 years, it's always been the strategy I noticed has always been, oops, there's a gap, there is a need, there's a problem. What's the solution? What can I create as a solution? And the solution is always about things that people don't do. And now that I think back, I kind of spotted my strategy of that's how I do things. That's how I create business. So it's always the thing that really inspires me is when I get to come out with a solution that's not, exactly available in the market. And that people get excited about it. I get excited about it. And at the same time, I get nervous and excited. And that sort of combination pushes me through. And it's like, Jen, you created it. So there's no two ways about it. You're going to make it work. You're going to make it work. You're going to make it work. So I kind of spotted that strategy that goes round at every business. And now, it's the same for the Mind Academy. So the whole HAPA thing came about because the magazine was called Hospitality Asia. And when I then created the awards, I said, okay, what sounds good like Oscar? So then I said, what named it after the magazine and then Platinum. So then it became Hospitality Asia Platinum Awards. That was how that came about. And then the brand just took off so well. Everybody resonated with the brand. Even my surname became Jennifer HAPA instead of Jennifer Ong. And
I thought your last name was Harper when I first met you.
let's see.
It's like,
I
think my name's Connect in the future.
yeah,
My last
Kallum Connect.
Jennifer HAPA. So I thought, what the heck, why don't I just stick on with that name, and decided to rebrand all my 4 pillars in the company as HAPA, and also put the company on as one group symbol has. So that's how the whole HAPA came. So it's kind of nice when people don't know what it really means. So the curiosity is always there. But at the same time, people say Jennifer HAPA, don't you know Jennifer HAPA? So kind of stuck on to me really well. And so I'm using the same strategy for the Mind Academy and building it over there, looking at what's needed, what's missing in a training field, what's missing in a coaching field, in the empowerment field, what is not there, but yet it's much needed. Then I would go for that market. So that's what excites me.
Oh, that's good. So finding these gaps, is that something you do as you're, doing the grocery shopping and then you get ideas, or do you literally lay everything out in front of you and go, where's the gap? How does it all bubble up to the surface to even notice a gap in the first place?
Okay, so I think it's a lot of. I think I would say it's very unconscious to a certain extent. It's not something where I sit down and I put the paper out and said, okay, now where are the gaps and what is it I want to do? It's usually possibly during meetings that I have, conversations. I think I would say mostly came out from conversations. So having conversations with people and talking about things and finding out what they think and how things are, experiencing it myself. So going out, finding it out myself and experiencing it, putting myself through it, and then say, what is it that I don't like? Or it could be something where I'm hearing repeated issues that are popping up, and say, hey, why aren't you guys doing anything about it? And when people say, well, no one has it, or no one has a solution, or no one bothers to do anything, or no one bothers to look into it, that is when it excites me, when I hear things like that. No one does it, no one bothers to do it, too much work, too heavy, whatever it may be. That's when it kind of went, something triggers in my mind, and I hop right in. So
You were 25 at the time and you were already doing this, and I find that pretty cool because sorry,
I was
22. So you had an ear for the business in terms of being able to spot the gaps and hear what other people are saying in the patterns that were occurring out there in the market and the industry. And you had a level of awareness so much so that you were able to identify those gaps and also be creative enough to think of a solution. Where did that come from? Was that influenced by your parents? Was it influenced by your schooling? Was it influenced by where you grew up? Your friends or the people that you were hanging around at the time? How did you come up with that awareness, and how did that develop over time? Or did it develop over time, or was it just something that was naturally a skill that you had?
okay. Well, as you were asking that question, the couple of images pops out, and these are very vivid ones, and these are the ones that repeat. One of the things that I think really impacted my life, I would say impacted my life, was a movie that I watched since I was, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 years old, right? And that was called L.A. Law.
Huh.
So
Ding, ding, ding.
that's called, that's one of the key movies that I remember. I would not miss a single episode. I would be right in front of the TV, and I would be watching L.A. Law. And I think now that I think about it, what really got me to follow LA Law was the fact that there were always mystery cases, court cases. People fight for what it is, and you see two sides of it coming together. And I think these kind of things sort of started changing the way I think. And then in school, I would do all the things, like I said, again, it kind of just probably looking at things that people don't do. I don't know where that plot came from, but I would want to be organizing like events and fashion shows outside school, to a point that I get caught by the school headmistress. And then my late dad went to school and speak to the headmistress. And she said, your daughter's doing too much stuff outside. She's organizing fashion shows, she's organizing events and all that. I don't know what happened, what conversation my late father had with my ex-headmistress, but then they came back and said, you know what, Jen, since you're so good at organizing events, why don't you do one fashion show for the school? And then I
Yeah.
did a in school. And then I think I started working at a very young age, at 16, where people would go, my schoolmates would go for holidays or they would be hanging out with friends. And I was working in a luxury cosmetic and fragrance company. It was called Lux Asia. They were doing Lancome, Dacanor, and, and that sort of brands. And I was a sales girl. And I was the first person to have really gotten the biggest sale for a brand called Palomar Picasso. Everybody knows Palomar Picasso. And Palomar Picasso launched the first perfume in Malaysia. And that was when I had my first sales job. And I think I was always the one that, do everything else other than what everyone else does. And it's exciting and it's fulfilling whenever I get to achieve results in that way. So was it an upbringing? I don't think my parents kind of pushed me out there, but it's more really what I personally wanted to do. It's always been an achiever from young, not through study, not through my education part, but in terms of everything else, sports. I was always out there playing sports, out there making sure that when I participate in the sports, I had to get a medal. I want to get a medal. It's always about self, I guess self-encouragement and pushing myself out there to do what I want. And I love it. So it's not something where I feel pressured or anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. I picked up through there that you did sales from a very young age. And I think that probably was one of the big keys, because understanding sales at that age and then have it develop and have a really big win early on to spur you on, and that love for competition, that love for sports, that love for getting medals. It's the same in the business world. It's just in a different context. When you're doing sales, it's like when you're competing at sports. You can go after medals, you can go after accolades, you can go after awards, and I think that having that lens to look through is so important. Conor and I say all the time that the basis for all business is sales. And if you can be good at sales, it doesn't matter what the economy is doing. It doesn't matter what the latest trends are. It doesn't matter what the latest marketing gimmicks are doing or changing. If you have a basis and a foundation in sales, then that makes you absolutely bulletproof in the business world, because you can make things happen just really with your ability to communicate and connect with people and build relationships. And one of the superpowers that I want to point out that you have, Jen, is your ability to promote yourself in such a way that it comes across as natural conversation. Because whenever I talk to you, it feels just like natural flow of conversation. You get me so hyped up and so psyched about what you're doing. And you naturally layer in all the promotional stuff that you're doing at the time. So I find myself then going and talking to Conor or talking to someone else, and I'm like, Jen's doing this, Jen's doing that. So you have this superpower to energize people and to get them into a powerful, positive state, and to also at the same time be layering in your latest things. And it boggles my mind how you get so much done, by the way. But was that also through those experiences that you developed that superpower? Because I think that that's one thing that a lot of coaches and trainers in our industry struggle with, is that ability to self-promote. They say things like, I find it easy to sell, $50,000 packages or $30,000 packages or $5,000 packages. When I'm doing it for somebody else, I find it easy. But when it comes to promoting myself, when it comes to selling for myself, when it comes to, charging for myself, I don't have the same results. So how did you break through those barriers, and what makes it so natural and easy for you to do?
Well, I think, like you said, I kind of developed, I started selling when I was 16, but then I started developing the skills. And when, of course, neurology expands and, you mature, you experience, but, with NLP, after I started doing NLP, of course, things start to say, I started connecting the dots and understood, that's what you call looking out for the needs. And that's what you call matching the needs. It was done unconsciously, but after I discovered this 5-step sales process, and especially, listening to one of the main podcasts, that Conor delivered, And it was like, oh, magic, right? Everything connected. And I now realize that I was doing it so unconsciously, but with knowing what the strategy was. Now that I do, then I do it consciously and unconsciously. But I think what really works for me is always focusing on whenever I have a conversation with someone is all, what's the purpose of the conversation? What's the purpose of meeting somebody? What's the purpose of being in front of somebody? And use that purpose and the outcome of that conversation as the main focus point. And that's why I guess it kind of, when I have conversations, I don't really sell something. And then, he's always talking about certain things and issues. And because I have that blessed gift of always looking for the gaps and then offering a solution. So that becomes, I guess, my, well, I wouldn't say sales strategy, but that the sales comes out from there. So that even with, like, for example, the summit, let's say, for example, the summit that I want to do, it's always because it comes out of the conversations I have with women, conversations I have with mothers and young girls, and find what's missing. And, from there, then I said, oh, what if I could do something that could address that? And that's when the idea starts popping up and said, okay, Jen, what can you do? What do you want to do? And I start talking to people. And when I start having conversations with people, it builds my motivation. It builds my, it builds a lot of power. It builds a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. And I have to, I want to, and I have to build to that point. Because whenever you have a new idea and you throw it out there, you're going to get some people who say, oh, this is not going to work, Jen. This has been done. People do that all the time. And yada, yada, yada. And, and if you don't have a build up, hyped up energy, filled with motivation, that's when you start talking to these yada, yada, yada. And then you come back and say, oh, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that. And that's the problem. I guess that's the biggest problem in a lot of entrepreneurs, people in general, that you have such great ideas. You wake up and you feel so good about it. And somebody just throws water, like we say, throws cold water on you. And you come back and say, guess what? Shelby. But that's the problem. And I've learned that the hard way, that every time I think of some new ideas and I start talking to people, and when I hear things that are not positive, and then I have doubts. Now, these ideas are all hanging around my head, like, it's all just flowing there. And, oh, should I have done that? Or should I do that? Maybe this one. Oh, no. Let's put that back. Maybe that one. So last year, I decided to take all those things off and say, you know what? If I don't want to do it, I'm going to just cut it out and throw it out. And I'll just keep what I really, really, really want to do. And I'm just going to go on talking about it. I meet anybody, I talk about it. I meet anybody, I talk about it. So
I love it. I find it inspiring when you do that. Yeah.
That's what I think builds my energy. And then it gives me so much excitement. So when I talk to someone else, they feel excited too. And I say, what do you think? It's good, right? Other key learnings come unconsciously, and it really helps, of course, in the way I have conversations with people. And I think one of the gifts I also have is the power of creating IRs. And the minute I talk about something, I already have the IR, and the IR is there. And every time I talk about it, it gets
solidified. I think your biggest, in knowing you, Jen, your biggest sales gift is getting people to believe in your ideas. You get people to buy into 100%. Your ideas.
100%.
So yeah. And just for those who are listening, when we say every business is sales, should be a sales-centric business. It's not just the commercial transactional side of sales. It's selling ideas. You have an idea. You see a gap in the market. You need to sell it to someone else that there's a gap in the market. In order to get Taylor's University to approve your NLP trainings as part of their curriculum, you have to do a lot of selling. You have to get them to buy into the belief that, hang on, if the students do this training, they will be further ahead by the time they finish their studies and degrees at Taylor's University. And that had to be sold. They had to buy, and no money changed hands. Everything was up here. And I think that's one of I think Cal mentioned it, your superpowers is to absolutely get people to buy in on the journey that you take them on as you talk about your next steps and your projects. But Cal, thoughts on talking about the Power Summit?
Yeah.
So Go.
Yeah. I was going to say before we get there, because I think it's also important to show how, before we get into the Power Women's Summit, I think it's also important to show how Jen has also got a knack for overcoming challenges and adversity. And there's a story, I'm not sure if you're willing to share it or not, Jen, but it'd be great if you can
No
talk
pressure.
to this point. Yeah, no pressure. I think it'd be great to talk to the point about, some of the goals that you were close to actualizing, and then you're met with, bigger, larger than life challenges that came out of nowhere, came out of completely left field. And then you were able to use your mind and the power of it to overcome those obstacles in a way that allowed you to still, I guess, win in both areas. Being able to firstly overcome the challenge, and then secondly, go and complete the goal that you wanted to set out to achieve.
Well, I think in my life, there are two most significant crises, like, huge crises. Like, if, thinking back, and even sometimes thinking of the possibility of not, if I hadn't made it through, what would have. I remember the first was when I was 28. That was really bad. And then the next was when I was 38. Of course, the last 30 years has been great, been achieving results nonstop, has been going on and on, but that doesn't come without challenges and without crisis and without, potholes or pitfalls. I remember in 2021, and that was when my first conversation I had with Conor was, to say, he gave me the last boost to put, pen on paper to sign off for the trainer's training. And then I was all charged up. He gave me the strategy, do this, study that, and stuff. And then I had a conversation with Kallum. It's like, oh, okay, Kallum's your coach. I remember having, I think about 2 conversations with Kallum about teaching me this is how you do. And he kind of paced me and said, right, so do this, study this, how many topics a day, and you get there, you're early, you're doing great. And I was so excited, looking forward to my trainer's training in October. So the journey from January 2021 to October was like, okay, feeling it really good. And 1 month before trainer's training, something so huge came, so unexpected, literally overnight. It's like the whole world just crashed. Everything just, it's like an earthquake in my life. Everything just crashed and collapsed, and wondering, what's happening. I think I was in that mode for about 2 weeks and not knowing, what am I going to do? Completely crashed. And then I had a conversation with Kallum, and I was telling Kallum about it, and I was really struggling. I was really struggling. And, Kallum came in and helped me out. Lots of pre-framing, lots of this and that. And I also looked for my coach here in Malaysia, did timeline therapy, and I did everything. I, kind of opened up the manual and said, what exactly can I use from here to help myself get out of this state? And I think it was difficult because it was an ongoing thing. It was a huge crisis. It was, going in from police stations to lawyer office, and it was crazy. And then I remember telling Kallum, I've stopped studying. I just didn't study. I'm not studying for the exam. I'm not going to make it. It was everything dark and negative. And I remember my conversations with Kallum was, I can't do this. I'm not going to make it. I don't think I can, and Kallum wasn't pushy. He was like, no, you can do this. You're all right. You're good. It was a lot of talks about getting inside, looking at, the possibilities, looking at what do I really, really want to achieve, and I can do it. And that sort of stuff. And I remember one day before trainer's training, I called Kallum and I said, I can't do this. I'm out. Yeah, I'm out. and I'll do it next year. It's okay. I'm good. And Kallum said, Jen, you've got this. I know you've got this. And, he didn't push me to say, no, you have to go through it. He just said, just attend the first day, just one day. Yeah. If you can't do it, you don't feel like it, you really can't hold on to it, then it's fine. Then come back next year. But just one day. Just take one step at a time. Just one step. Just that step. And after that conversation, I just said, okay, I'll just take the first step. Just one step. What the heck? Just one step. And that was like one step, 2 years ago. And today I'm here. So
I'm getting goosebumps because I remember the belief, the things that I saw for you in the future, and just how even the things that I saw you've surpassed and you've exceeded. And it's just amazing to see just the power of your mind. And to be honest, and I'll give you a huge compliment. I'm in awe of all of the things you're doing, because it's just amazing to watch just how much you achieve in such a short amount of time. And I think I'd love to hear just how you're looking to pay that forward, and how you're looking to support other women. And there's you mentioned young women, mums, older women. It looks like you're there to support everybody, and to share in that experience, and sharing that knowledge and that know-how that you have. So tell us about the Power Women Summit. It's brought to everybody by the Mind Academy and Jennifer Ong. But dive into that, and how can women be a part of it? Where is it going to be? What is the the intention behind it? And so on.
The intention. You mentioned that you saw a gap in the empowerment. So you see gaps. So what was the gap that you saw, but then your mind to say, I want to fill it with this?
Yeah. I think ever since I sort of dived into the women's market, particularly, so one thing I noticed that I always do as well is I question myself, the true definition of a certain, a certain area. For example, women empowerment. I always then started questioning what is really women empowerment? Like the key word of empowerment. How do you empower somebody? What is required? What is missing? Then I go to the point what's missing. Because then if I truly understand what the word of empowerment means, true meaning right deep down, then I would know what is the gap and what is missing. So then I realized that I call it like a resource center. Picking women and young girls go to, like a resource center where they can just go and, like, for example, you just go and charge your power bank. All you need is your phone and your cable. You don't need a power bank. You just need your cable. You go to the resource center and you put in your cable and you get charged and you come back out. Like, where can we get a resource center? So then I also noticed that lots of events out there, lots of talks and summits and conferences, to give knowledge to women. And when it comes to empowerment, and we all do that. And there's International Women's Day every year where we do a lot of talks, a lot of sharing. So what I wanted to create was, because being a trainer and coach myself, being in the training and coaching business, we know that coaching is very important. And it's not necessarily has to be a formal setting of coaching. And I just have to think about my journey, like I said earlier, right? In year 2021, from January to September or to October, I've not met Kallum personally. I didn't speak with Kallum every day. I didn't connect with Kallum every day. Probably, I don't know, Kallum, four conversations on the phone, right? And that informal coaching through conversations could help me work on myself and my mind to get myself out of crisis and go for, it literally drag my one foot and push it over to the first day of the trainer's training and get myself into it, at least my first foot in. And that sort of informal coaching came about, even without a necessarily a formal coaching. But of course, because he's a training coach, So what if I could create a setting that we could give informal coaching in that way, where women and young girls who comes in, they are all at different phases of their life. Everybody has crisis. Everybody has, certain form of challenges. And I always believe that people don't meet by coincidence. So whoever who attends the summits are meant to be there anyway. And there is a reason why they're going there. So for whatever reason that they know, and they go to a this coaching, Power Women Summit, coaching summit. And when they're there, those resources that they're going to get, the stories, the tips, or this is what you do, or this is how I did it, this is how you can do. It's 100% fully engaging between the panel and the audience. It's not a panel discussion. It's a panel audience discussion. So literally everybody come with your phone, with your cable. And, that's the power. That summit is the power. And you come. And I thought if I could do that and have it available to more women and more young girls and more people, I think that would help to start the empowerment journey and tell them, look, it's like an actionable intelligence summit workshop. So they come, they get to hear stories, they get coaching tips, they get to attend workshops, they get to learn how to apply it in life, right? It's a 1-day summit, but they're going to walk back with definitely a huge awareness and a huge change somewhere in their life, some areas of their life. And that summit is going to be something that they're going to talk about and say, I'm so glad I went to the summit. So we have we have 12 to 16 speakers and coaches, and they're there for a purpose. They're there because they want to share their journey and they want to share their coaching tips with others and say, hey, tell me what you need. Tell me what you need. Tell me what help you need. I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here. Talk to me. So it's kind of summit where we invite engagement and say, questions, come ask me questions. Let me know what it is. So it's not really driven by a topic, but it's driven by the needs of the audience, of what they're there for. So, and this kind of thing excites me because then I can create things, I can design it accordingly to what the market needs, because that is what gap that I saw in the gap that I think it's all over the world. Like I'm going to look for collaborators and people who are into summits, or people into coaching, people into women coaching to come forward, because I want to do this around the world. It's not just in Malaysia, but starting off here in June, on the 7th of June this year.
7th of June, mark it in your diaries.
At my tech. So, buy a ticket, come over to Malaysia and attend this summit, because it's life-changing. It's just like how, the trainers training changed my life, and that's sort of life-changing. Yeah.
Is it live in person or is it online? You said come to Malaysia.
Yeah, I thought for the start, the first one I would do it physical.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Not online yet, but I thought, well, okay, maybe I would. I'm not sure. Let's see what. Yeah. But physical, because we really want to create that. I call it the impact space, like a resource hub. So we want to connect that. Like-minded people. So it's again networking as well. It's networking. It's opening new doors. So meet people you've never met. Come alone. Come with friends, but sit somewhere else. Just come and meet people, because you never know who you might end up meeting, and you might be, do business together. Yeah. So
how will it be delivered? So it'll be one big room, and then there'll be a panel, and then every hour there's a new master coach on the panel, and how do people ask their questions? How can you help paint the picture for people for when they buy a ticket and turn up? What will it look and feel like for them?
Okay, so we're not going to do like, the address where one person delivers with the slides and all. It's going to be, it's broken down into different panels. And each panel, we would be touching on the certain areas of life. It could be, say, for example, on business, women in business. And there's no specific topic, but it will be women in business talking about, it could be some women who are starting business and they're really struggling. They just can't seem to get it right. Women have been in business for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and they really don't know what else to do. How can I, what do I do after this? How do I get myself, how do I revamp myself? Or some people say, I've been in business for so long, I want to exit. I don't know how to exit. I'm
Right.
stuck. I mean, there's so many things about business. And the panel will be there, and we'll start off talking about the issues that women are facing today in the context of business and career leadership and that kind of stuff. And then the moderator will be the one really talking to the audience and said how many people here are in business and what are the issues you're having. How many of you here are having these issues? Come give us your questions. So they could either write in their questions or they could go out to the mic and say, look, I'm having this issue, and I'm here for help. So audience there are literally knowing that I'm going there to get tips, to get help, to get resources.
Got it.
So encouragement is, of course, I would encourage the audience to ask questions. Ask the questions that you want. Ask for tips. Ask for whatever it may be, because knowledge is there. The resources are so huge that you just want to make sure you charge. You go around with your cable, and everything you see, is a power bank. So I call it cup and get your liquid gold. How
We have the
say-
impact zone and the liquid gold.
Yes.
I
So
like the impact zone. I love the impact zone. What I'm imagining is like the space between the panel and the audience becomes this
Morphogenic
field of energy that impacts people.
yes, so it will be physical. It's a small room. It's not a big ballroom. We want to keep it really tight and neat. We want to contain the energy in the room. And they come, and everyone, I would encourage them to come with their phone and cable, knowing where to go and get their resources, and come with the most beautiful jar or cup or anything that you want that's empty, because you want to really go and get all the liquid gold.
Mm.
Let's get the liquid gold, fill it up, because that liquid gold is what will stay with you for the rest of your life, right?
Yes.
So you want knowledge in terms of that liquid gold, and you want energy from this group of impact space. So you go home, you get knowledge, you get everything there in your liquid gold, and you get your power. So you put the two together after the summit. There is no way that you cannot get your goals. There's no way you cannot do the thing you want, because you've already gotten that, all installed and infused into that. Yeah. So
Wow. Fire it up.
That idea of going around and getting your liquid gold reminds me of the conversation we had earlier in the podcast, where you were talking about, surrounding yourself with the right people. And, Conor calls it proximity is power, being in the field of other people who are supportive of your dreams and of your goals, and supportive of you, and also bring something to the table. And in a way, they may have walked the path or done something similar to you, and they're getting behind you and they're firing you up. And that sounds like what you go and do when you test these new ideas, where you find that gap. You go and fill up your own cup of gold, liquid gold, and you go and find your liquid gold to fuel you in putting out these new creative ideas that you've come up with. And I think it's a fascinating strategy that it sounds like you've woven into this amazing event, the Power Women Summit. It's going to be incredible. What were the dates again?
it will be on the 7th of June, 2024, and it's going to be held at one of Malaysia's top event venue, MyTech. It's Malaysian International Trade and Convention and Exhibition Center. So
Is that in Kuala Lumpur?
Kuala Lumpur, yeah.
What?
Yeah. And, for anyone flying to Europe this summer from Australia, because people typically fly from, Australia to Europe at that time, they always stop over at KL. So time it with the Women's Summit, spend a night in Kuala Lumpur. It's a beautiful, beautiful city, and go and have a look and, get amongst this amazing initiative that Jen's put together. If it's anything like the event she's done in the past, it's going to be absolutely incredible and impressive. I can't wait to see what you produce. I'm really excited for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to, having it. It's already actualized in here. I mean, I just need to look at the actual event physical event on the 7th of June. But it's going to be really exciting. And, I was telling my friends and said, look, get your goals here. I told my daughter, I said, I don't care if you're having an exam or you're going to miss school. You're going to go there and you're going to go as a participant. You go
Yeah.
through it, experience it. And she's 15 this year. So I
Right
think
age.
it's just, I personally cannot imagine how if a 15-year-old girl gets these resources now, it's just wow, right? It's
Yeah.
all of the world shift so much. Being able to have the opportunity, be surrounded by these women at this impact space at the age of 15. So yeah, so it's a really good summit. I think not just for women, but for young girls, for teenagers. Anybody has daughters, just send them over.
I do, but they're probably 10 or 13 years off being ready to come. But yeah, I would absolutely love them to be surrounded by you, Jen, and to have that positive influence in their lives. Before we wrap up today, I'm sure Connor's probably got a couple more things too, but before we wrap up today, Jen, can we leave our audience, our guests, and the people that tune into YouTube with the Unplugged podcast in the future that listen to this, can you leave them with some gold? I know that you were talking about a quote that had a impact on you today, and I think that this would be a great time for you to fill up their cup of liquid gold with that quote. It's really cool, and also a little bit about why it impacted you as well, because I think quotes are great, but getting the interpretation of the person that it impacted the most and their thinking behind it is also what makes it so powerful.
Yeah, so I love quotes. I live with quotes. I love quotes, and I had two friends, gentlemen friends, who are so kind, who send me quotes every single morning. And this morning, a quote came through, and I was mind blown. I had put a star on the message. So he said, "Good morning. Everyone has a purpose. You become unstoppable when you figure out your purpose." And that resonated so well with me because in my 30 years of my journey in business, whether as an entrepreneur, as a trainer, coach, or any business that I have done in the last 30 years, and I realized one thing that has really kept me going and kept me unstoppable was that fact that I define the purpose that I want to do something, like whether it's a summit or an awards or a workshop, a training program, whatever it is, a podcast. I always make sure I define the purpose, and I find that purpose in mine, and I define it, and then I really protect it. I really protect my purpose because, again, we are all exposed to, we want to share ideas, but not everybody would see that. And not everybody learn NLP to use the right language. So if you don't protect your purpose, you would definitely be shaken. Shaken, you'll be moved, and your entire purpose, then you start to doubt your purpose and asking, is this really what I want? So that's the first thing I do, is to really do that. And then the second thing, once I know that I've gotten my purpose and really protect it, is to see that, to really believe in that and to believe in the outcome. So I don't create the picture of the journey going to make things happen, but I always make sure that my last picture is the outcome of the event. Like now, every time I talk about the summit, it's the picture of the summit day, or the 7th of June, 2024, who's sitting there, what's happening, and that kind of picture. So with that and the purpose that I protect, when I go out and have my conversation, I sound like I'm so unstoppable. Like, Jen just keeps going. Like, she has that energy and she just do it. Like, to heck with you. You don't like my idea, then this is not for you. That not it's not arrogance, but it's really protecting your purpose and what you want to.
Yes.
If they're not aligned, it's okay. It's okay, you know, because
Yeah.
his journey is your path. So stick to that. If that's what you really want to do, stick to that, believe in it, you know, make that end goal a reality, go for it, just go for it. You know, I think I have a quote in my deck that I sent to you, Kayla, you know, that says, just keep going. No, don't stop. Just keep going until you get to where you want. And then you know you're there, and then you go on to somewhere else. So I think that quote really resonated with me. It kind of then now tells me that that quote didn't come just out of coincidence. It came now because this is the time I'm running the summit.
Mm.
Yeah. So put it out there, create something. I did the post there. I just said, you know, Jen, put it out there. And people will ask me, oh, how are you selling your tickets? I said, well, I'll sell my tickets. I know I've got strategy. But it's not that. It's what am I going to deliver? So I don't think about, oh, I know how I'm going to sell the tickets. I'm thinking about what am I going to deliver? How am I going to deliver it? How are these women going to be impacted? What kind of ticket role can they get? What kind of, how many pots of power bank charges can I create for that? That is what I look at. And I think that is why I feel like I'm unstoppable. I feel like, hey, you know, don't come along my way. I might hit you, you know, just move aside. Yes. I think, you know, to everyone out there, if you're listening and you've got a goal, you've got something that you really want to do, and you know your purpose, then you have to really dive in, but you need to set that protection layer for your purpose. Yeah. So that's really important. And then don't stop till you get there. Just keep going.
Keep going. It's funny how coincidences happen every day at Connect Coaching. Either Kallum, myself, or one of our other team members will put up a quote for the morning. And this morning was the quote: "The only victory that counts is the one over yourself." And it ties in very nicely with what you were saying about the doubting and protecting what you hold up here, protecting and holding on to that. And you mentioned one thing that we could probably have a whole nother podcast on, but I'll bring it up now. But that is being okay to not try to fit everyone in. So being okay to say, I'm okay for you not to be part of this journey. And for a lot of people, that can be somewhat difficult because I think most of us have, or most people in the world have an inherent need to want to please everyone. But when you are on your path and you are determined, there will be some times where you'll have to say goodbye to some people. And on whatever level, I don't want to get too specific on what level. It could be someone knocking on your door saying, "Does your Power Women's Summit do this?" And you have to be okay to say no and not bend in order to accommodate, because your vision and what you hold up here is actually what you're guiding, as you said. And I think that is a huge learning for a lot of people in business. It's a huge learning for a lot of people in the corporate world and the professional world, and in life in general. So maybe we'll have you back on and you can unpack your strategy
100%.
as
We'd
how
love
you
that.
do that.
Love to, anytime to share. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much today, Jen. We'll wrap it up there. We would absolutely 100% love to have you back on the Connect Unplugged podcast, episode number 6, and it will be live not live, but it will be posted on YouTube. So if you want to see this episode and other episodes of the Unplugged podcast, please jump on the Connect Coaching YouTube channel, like and subscribe. I've always wanted to say that. So stoked about that. Like and subscribe. Become a supporter of our podcast. We hope to bring more and more of these to you. The feedback has been amazing so far. I think the great thing, and I say it on every one of these podcasts, that Conor and I have the privilege of is to have these conversations in private all of the time. And what we hoped for our community and what we really, truly want is to bring some of these conversations out to everybody, because there's so much in it that we benefit from, and we know you can benefit from it too. So if you're loving it, show your support, and we will be doing more and more of them. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you, Conor, for being here as well. And thank you, everybody on Facebook. We've got Salia, we've got Genevieve, we've got Fazila, We've got a whole bunch of people here. Rebarb, Eric was on there earlier. Bullam, Michael, Amy, Empho. There's been a bunch. Mandy, hello. So good to have you guys on here. And everyone watching on YouTube or everyone watching the replay on Facebook, like and subscribe us on the Connect Coaching YouTube channel. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Jen. See you soon.
Thank you, Kallum. Thank you, Conor. Thank you, everyone. See you. Have a great, unstoppable day.
Yes.